This is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? How's everything going? Good? Really good? How you doing, Rob? I see you over there. I can't see you out there, but I got a great bass line for you right here. Thanks so much for tuning in. What a lineup. Like every lineup, every Saturday at midnight, we've got something for everybody. We begin with Gene Lavelle. He's a lawyer, a teacher, an artist. He's painted over 1,000 portraits of people you might know, and he's written dozens of books. His first one, published by Page, deals with infidelity and a whole lot more. It's called Aida. How you doing, Gene?
At the moment, kind of sad. I just lost my last and best friend. My pet conure, Pepe, just fell off his perch dead as a nail.
Aw, Gene. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am too.
Aw.
I'll miss him.
How long did you have him?
Oh, I guess it's been about 6 years now. He was a Father's Day present after my wife died and my dog died. My family got me a conure, which, as you know, is a Central American small parakeet, and he's been a good companion. Taught him how to play chess. I think he brings his queen out too soon. But
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Aida is my 12th novel. It's set in Baltimore in the fall of 1951. Concerns a guy and two gals. The guy and one of the gals are classmates at Hopkins. She's a graduate student, and he's an undergraduate student. And he's in love with her, despite the fact that she tells him on their first date that she's the biggest whore at Hopkins. And can he deal with that? The other female is a stripper, an undereducated stripper, who, strangely enough, falls in love with the man and is pregnant with his child, although she never tells him and he doesn't know it. So the story is about the intertwinings and the things that happen to these three people as they make it through their lives. It's about fidelity and the curious things that happen. And along the way, they're fortunate enough to meet some very interesting people. Two presidents, Eisenhower and Nixon, and Vice President Spiro Agnew, a fellow named John Gotti.
Oh, they met John Gotti, eh?
I met him personally.
You met him personally?
Including Bill Casey, Ollie North, Saudi Prince, Bandar bin Sultan. Taught for 30 years in addition to practicing law. And one of my students married a dope addict, and she turned out to be a non-custodial parent, and she kidnapped the baby. And he paid me to go after her, and I went after her and found her and snatched the baby back, and she shot me. But I didn't die. I just came back and changed my ways a little bit.
So this is in the book, or this really happened?
It really happened, and it's in the book.
But you don't want me to say that it really happened.
Well, you can say that it's all based on true accounts.
We can say that it's based on true accounts. Okay.
I painted 1,051 portraits. I'm 83, and I've had everything, suffered every operation and disease you can think of.
Wow. And you're still writing. Good for you, Gene.
I write longhand.
Oh, my gosh. You write your novels longhand.
I don't have a computer since Iran-Contra because Norm Gardner's phone and mine, since I was his personal attorney in that thing, the phone lines were tapped, and they read my mail, and the NSA they may be listening to this call right now.
Wow. So that's how you knew Oliver North?
Yes.
Well, NSA, if you're listening, buy this book. Wow. What a life this guy's had. But you'll have to guess what's real and what's fiction. All right. Tim Bubenek is an attorney in the St. Louis area, and he picked an emotional topic to write about for his first book. It's called Things Have Changed for Me. Tim.
It's about this young woman who she finds out that her brother has kidnapped a boy, and the brother manipulates her into keeping a secret, and she forms a real strong bond with the boy. And then years later, when he returns home, he has to kind of choose between his real family and the family he's formed with her.
So she's the only safety net he knows during this time of his kidnapping.
Exactly.
How many years was he kidnapped?
It was about 6. One of the things I also focused on in the book was what his family went through while he was gone. And I think there's just so much, when I think about these children that are gone for so long and come back as adults, I just always wonder what happens to those, the people that they knew and those connections. Do they just go away, or?
Were you inspired by any of the news stories that have come out in recent years about, stories just like that?
Well, yeah, being from St. Louis, Sean Hornbeck story, that happened here. He actually lived probably about 15 minutes from where I did at one point in time. So, him being found safe, that always, someone in the back of my mind.
This is quite a subject to tackle for your first book.
Oh, well, thanks. I hope that it does draw attention to, missing and exploited kids, because this was somebody who was in plain sight in the book. So I hope that people do take the time to think about who these people are and where they are. If you see something, say something, act on it. But I also hope that they really see that people react to things different ways, and that the ways that we react to things we're not bad people because we react the way we react. I think a lot of times when we see the parents of these kids on TV, we see the, eternal hopefulness, and I never gave up that my child was dead. His mother really, she wasn't able to handle it that way. She needed things to be over. And she dealt with things the best way she could.
That really is an interesting point, because when people die in families and you go to the wake, and people will talk about how the wife didn't seem that upset, or the daughter, you know what I mean? And we don't know what goes on inside of people.
Yeah, sometimes people feel more relief that their loved one's not in pain.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how we take notice of body language and voice inflection at, funerals and emotional events, and, somehow that helps us determine, the level of anxiety or emotions that another person is experiencing. I don't know why we do that, but what's appropriate when your kid's been kidnapped? I can't even imagine. Harvey Fries is a child of divorce and also a divorcee. He knows what divorce can do to a kid, and it's why he wrote Sir Derek III from the Kingdom of Dur.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. You never looked better, Harvey. Oh, wait, we're on the radio.
Okay. Well, good. That's the name of the book, Sir Derek III from the Kingdom of Dur. It's about a mouse and honey, but I wrote the book knowing the divorce rate. There was 2.4 million marriages in the United States a year, and there's 1.2 divorces, and it affects innocent children, and they're the innocent victims of that breakup. 2 parts in the book I really like, because I hit the soul, I finally hit my voice in writing, and they got the little magic spots, and then when it hit, I was like, ideal, perfect. I don't know how I came up with that, but there it is. You know what I'm saying?
Like what? Give me an example.
Sort of like whenever the king tells Derek, I've prayed and prayed for the answer to come, like you prayed for the honey that you love so much to drip down the kitchen floor from above. And he goes, and lo and behold, the answer still came, but from the opposite direction, the basement of all things. So those are those little magic turnarounds that we're talking about.
So finding other ways to deal with things that upset you.
Yeah, because it's what it is. The honey in the book kind of represents the optimism of hope, and that's what Derek's going up to find. Let's get some hope in this situation. And what it is I think it's a great opportunity for children parents rather, to open the door of discussion about the whole matter if they're going through it, or if they have grandchildren going through it, innocent victims of a breakup. They can get the book for them, and they can start the conversation about how to start healing it.
It just, with so many divorces, you wonder how many of them are really necessary.
Yes, ma'am. I had lived through a divorce, and my parents had a divorce.
Okay.
So, anyway, what I'm trying to tell, I was a victim of that, and then the other one too. But the thing about it is, you come to terms with it in time, and you're like, okay. In fact, I just went to see my son the other day, and I got a great relationship with him. And after I wrote the book, he was like, man, Dad, I know what you were going through now. Now I know what you mean. And I was like, cool. And he's 30 years old now. So it brought healing to him too. You know what I'm saying? So that was the purpose of the book. Yeah, and one more thing.
One more thing. It was kind of neat because passed on, my father used to tell a lot of ghost stories around the campfire when we were younger. And that's kind of what helped me to write this book. Because I imagined myself around a campfire with a bunch of kids, and I started telling the story, and I started writing it down as I was telling it. So I guess I kind of inherited his gift of storytelling.
All right, Harvey. It's a good message. You know, that's a tough one, getting kids through divorce. Nikki Julian is a pastry chef, and she's written a book called Confections, Easy Desserts. Now, granted, there are a lot of cooking books out there. I know that's what you're thinking, but not with a story like this. Nikki, this book is part of a much bigger plan, right?
The goal for that Easy Desserts was in the future to hopefully have a whole line of books with different titles for different reasons. So I went to culinary school in Napa Valley in Greystone. I didn't finish all the way, and I came home and started my own company, and my mother was ill at the time, so I took care of her and just really launched into baking and school and what I wanted to do. You know, I was working. I had an internship at Pelican Hill in Newport, and when I came home, it was, you know, kind of turned into a hobby, and then people really wanted to buy custom cakes and cupcakes and cookies, and so I just turned it into a business, titled it Confectious, and then everyone wanted some recipes. So the book is a nice way to introduce recipes that are simple and fun and that you can entertain with, but still keep it pretty simple.
And I would say you probably already have a good base of people that would be interested in your book because they're buying your stuff.
Yeah, and the whole point of, you know, starting Confectious Easy Desserts was people kept asking me, I want, you know, can I have this frosting recipe? Can I have this chocolate cake recipe? And I was like, I don't really want to just give, you know, my golden recipes away, but I narrowed it down to where it could be simple enough and people can still enjoy it. And if they can't order through me and they're in a different state, they can still make these products.
What's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal would be to probably have my own bakery or my own brand. If I could brand out Confectious and create a whole line of baked goods and sell them in stores, maybe have satellite bakeries and continue with the baking books if people, you know, if people are still wanting them and the demand is still there, keep branching out and keep going.
It's got to be hard to distinguish yourself in a business like that because there's so many other businesses like it.
True, yes. So I think building relationships with people is super important so they have that trust. And a lot of people come to me for, I have a gluten-free problem. I have a nut allergy. They can trust me to bake in my home and know that, you know, they're going to have safe products. So I not only do parties, but I do holidays and, you know, someone who's just craving sugar but has a nut allergy and they can't go to the store technically because they're afraid, you know, they could have an allergic reaction. My business is probably a little bit more specialized and a little bit more, you know, smaller than other industries, but I gain relationships and trust within my customers.
Hey, you know what you need, Nikki? You need a reality TV show. Look what it did for Carlos Bakery in Hoboken. That guy's everywhere. All right, we are going to take a quick break. You go ahead. You take one too. All right, and then come right back. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books, and unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them, and they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Hey, thanks for coming back to the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob Barrett's my engineer on the other side of the glass. How you doing over there, Rob? I missed you. I can see you. I can't hear you. Nobody can hear you. But his lips are moving. You'll have to take my word for it. Linda Harris battled depression for years, the kind of depression where you lay in bed and you just don't want to get up. Well, she finally won that battle, and now she's sharing with others how it's possible not to give in or give up. In her book entitled simply, I Am. Linda, what are some of the things that are working for you?
First, I had to tell myself that I am somebody. I love myself. Most people that are depressed don't love themselves. So I had to learn to love me. I had to learn that I am worthy of having a good life. And to do that, you just have to tell yourself every day, I'm blessed. I am so happy to be here. It's wonderful to be alive.
Were you able to do this without medication?
At first, no. I did take medication for about a couple of years. Then I started having like the side effects of taking the medication, which is the more you take it, the more you want it. So it would end up doing worse effects instead of being better. And I didn't want to live with it. I wanted to be rid of it. So to be rid of it, I had to find a way to do it. And I started listening to positive people, and that makes a difference. You have to be around people that want something out of life. You know, they want to enjoy life. So once I got to me, I started seeing where I would let little things trigger me to do adverse things in my life, and I didn't want that anymore. I used to talk about people that it seems like no matter what, all they did was complain. They never had anything good to say. And after a while, I found that I became one of those people. I could do this if it wasn't so bad, and, you know, negative. So I had to learn how, when I get up in the morning, I say, Lord, I thank you for a beautiful day. I'm going to have a wonderful day today. And I just kept saying that to myself every morning. Until finally it became a part of my life to be happy. I'm not saying that there are days that, you know, you get that little depression move, because, you know, depression is something that you have to work on every day. You know, it just doesn't go away on its own. Eventually, I pray to God that I will not have that. But right now, I still have days that I have to go read my own book to get that life back into my life.
Did you ever try exercise?
Yes, I had to get out. And that was another thing. I gained so much weight. I got up to 414 pounds.
414 pounds? Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Just sitting home, eating, watching TV, not exercising, you know, waggling in my self-pity. And so with that, I started having problems with hypertension, cholesterol, and I was on the verge of becoming a diabetic. And so I had to do something. So I had a gastric bypass, and even with that, you have to take lessons. You have to work at it. You know.
And even with the surgery, you still have to exercise. So you're hoping to inspire others with this book, right?
Yes,
Good.
Yes. It is not about me. It's the steps that I did to get to who I am now.
All right, Linda. By the way, Linda's already writing her next book, and that's going to give readers a little more background on her struggles with depression and how she overcomes them every single day. Lori Gruber wanted to write a book young women would like and moms would approve of, so she came up with Raven's Choice. Lori.
I grew up on a dairy farm, and we had horses as well. But my off time from working on the farm was reading. And I started reading when I was probably in my early teens with things like, you know, the Trixie Belden books and mysteries. And then went to Barbara Carlin books, which are historical romance books that are geared for, I'd have to say, younger people, just because it's not all erotica. It's not like 50 Shades of Grey. So my mother had no problems with me reading it. I wanted something that maybe could encourage other, younger women to read and get into the love of reading without their parents being afraid that it's something they shouldn't be reading. I wanted to bring in my love of animals, and I also wanted to bring in my love of having the good person win.
Justice is served. We love that.
Yes. Raven is the horse and in the book, and Raven's choice is that when she finds them and rescues the owner of the horse, he transfers a lot of his love and to the person who finds them, his trust. And Raven is the horse because normally when people choose a mount, they're choosing it for either looks or for the breeding, and in this one, she has a way with animals, and Raven becomes pretty protective of her, and it's got some history in it so that they can learn history, not just all fiction. So I believe the moral of the story is that you want to look beyond just the surface and see that love can thrive even if it's not in the circles that you think it should be.
So,
and I pretty much just started writing this one for myself and my nieces. And then when they were like, "Oh no, this is good, Auntie. You need to send it somewhere."
So they inspired you to send it off to Paige.
Right. We have a local library. There's a local drugstore that has. My husband even talked to them about possibly doing a book signing there. I went to one of the bookstores that's within an hour from me, and that particular bookstore was like, "Well, we only have certain publishers we work with, and books have to be ordered, and then if they're not from those publishers, then we can mail them to their homes." But otherwise, it's almost like fairy tales coming true.
Yeah,
that it can happen to people. And plus, a lot of the one that I wrote too is when you have a group of friends, they stand with each other, they support each other, and family as well. And to me, that's kind of what that book started. And I've been writing since then about some of the other people that were in that first book. So it motivated me to continue on.
All right, Lori, I guess we'll be talking to you again. Finally, the love of Jay Whitaker's life suffered an aneurysm and was rushed to the hospital in Las Vegas, where he was told she was dead. And this is where Jay's book entitled New Beginnings begins. Jay, tell us what happened at the hospital.
I was sent home saying that she had passed away. A few minutes later, getting a phone call from her family, that get back to the hospital. Why they leave their sister, daughter there? Get back to the hospital. I guess they're rushing Diana in for her surgery, and then it just picks up from there. Diana's from upstate New York, and she had come out to Vegas, and we ended up getting together and everything. And then when this happened, the hospital called the family out there in New York, got them involved and everything. They in turn called me back at the house, telling me to get back to the hospital. Why they leave their sister and daughter there? She's still alive. When in fact that the physician there had told me and my sister, go home. There's no more that could be done for Diana there. That she was gone. I rushed back to the hospital to find out what was going on and everything. And then from that point on, I just hung around and wouldn't leave her. And then it goes from there to the next 3 months that Diana, her case and her situation, as it speaks of a lot of in her medical records, would be the true state of Diana's being throughout that stay in 3 months was being held from the family, her true state of being. In the very beginning, her family was being told, when she's on full life supports, her family is being told that she took a downturn after the third surgery. She actually went through 3 surgeries, and that they needed to unplug her from all life supports. Well, in fact, Diana was doing well at that moment, and which would reflect back in the medical records once again that the information was to be held from the family through the nursing notes, not to be telling them Diana's exact situation at the moment. After 3 months, my proving Diana to have come back to a point to where she qualified for a rehab, St. Mary's Rehab out of Rochester, New York, had agreed to bring her out there. The family helped us with the flight out that way to bring her into in-house, rehabilitation, start that process. And I'd actually lived in that hospital with her for the month she was in there.
Is she okay now?
She's about 65%, 70% of what would be total. If she'd have got the proper care in the first institution in Las Vegas, she'd have been us. She can't be left alone or anything like that and all that type of stuff. She requires full care, but she's able to write still. We did say the part where, her hand to where she could, her right hand, she has use of her right hand where she could continue her writings, as she writes a lot, lots of letters and all that type of things. The one thing she enjoyed the most prior to the injury, she was able to retain. Thank God. Because without that, she would just, her life would have just been fully, pretty much over with. And through the past 25 years of taking care of her, it's been just nothing but a joy to still have her in my life. In the beginning of this, I had taken little notepads with me and wrote down every day's event, which ended up, after almost a 2-year period, becoming what I saw then a manuscript form that we could one day or eventually get published.
So through those notes, Jay has been able to bring us Diana's story, and he's going to continue writing in the hope one day there may be some justice. And that is a wrap for this week's edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's always a plus for us. Come on back next week or download us and listen later. We are available for podcast, don't you know, at WOR710.com. You'll find us in the column that says WOR Weekend Schedule. WOR710.com. Listen to as many episodes as you like. Go ahead. Otherwise, we are here for you. And if we aren't, the Mets are. Every Saturday at midnight, only on 710 WOR. Have a great weekend.